Everybody knows Southern University Band. It's one of the greatest. It's like one of the 10th wonders of the world because people want to emulate, people want to copy it. You don't see Grambling getting invited to the White House. You don't see Grambling at Rose Bowl or the Staples Center. They want to see the number one. They want to see the best.
Right.
And that culture, it just really speaks for itself. And it's one of those things. Certain people fall off. Southern Band doesn't.
Right.
Greatest band of all time.
Right.
No, there is no competition. I don't want to hear about Ohio State. It is the greatest cultural. It's been the most mocked, imitated bands, and it keeps other HBCUs alive with what we've been able to do because we are the absolute standard. So that's why it's such a great symbol to go. I can go anywhere in the country for work. I can go to California. Oh my God, y'all band is amazing. I'll take that compliment.
Right.
And where'd you go? Harvard. Okay, cool. What do y'all band do? But it's a good thing to just have something to take pride in and have something just so culturally relevant that's going to stand the test of time. Southern Band was here before I got here, so the band will be here when I leave.
What's up, everybody? We're back with another episode of The Reserved Man. Man, we have two special guests here with us today, and we're going to be talking about Southern University, highlighting all things Southern and HBCUs. We have Israel Wilson, Izzy. He was on one of our previous episodes that was kind of lively, to say the least. And we have Anthony Kenney with us, too. I'll let these guys go through their background info because I might not be able to do it justice the way they can. So, Israel, let's start with you. Or Izzy, let's start with you. What you got?
Hey guys, first and foremost, I just want to apologize for my behavior on the last Reserved Man. I got a little bit belligerent and I was on 11. I should have been like around a 7 or 8. So I want to apologize. That will not happen again tonight.
We appreciate it.
But you was on 11, like after the edit.
I was.
Like you was on 13.
I was talking about, why did you scream the entire time? I didn't understand. Okay. Anyway, all right, back to it. Forgive me. But yeah, my name is Israel J. Wilson. I'm a graduate of Southern University year 2005. I'm currently doing manufacturing engineering work at Orion Instruments. Just a pleasure to be back, man. Thank you guys for inviting me back because I wouldn't have. So this is definitely a pleasure to be back. And I'm going to give it to my guy over here, Anthony.
Oh, man. Made me want to go back and watch the last podcast. Cut up. But appreciate that, Izzy, man. My name is Anthony Kenney, man. I'm here for Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm a spring 2019 graduate of Southern University.
Fresh out.
Yeah, fresh out, man. Fresh out the yard, man. Major in mass communications with a specialization in public relations. Now, currently, I'm a graduate student at LSU in the Manship School, and I'm majoring in strategic and public affairs. So, trying to looking at both sides. Southern, my home. Why Southern? I was the student government president. Marched in the Human Jukebox. Became a member of the Beta Sigma chapter, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. So, man, I had the whole.
You did everything.
I did everything.
Full experience.
When I graduated, I ain't gonna lie, I cried because I did everything.
You did.
I set myself on one of my mind to do. So
you
glad to be here, and
man.
I'm excited, man.
See, I was gonna ask you why you didn't go to Southern for grad school, but I think the answer is there was nothing left for you to do.
There's nothing left, man. Now, and one more thing that's left for me to do, and that's after grad school. So we'll dive into it.
Okay. Excellent segue.
Well, give us a little preview.
So we just want to talk about a little bit about why we are choosing to highlight Southern. First off, it is Black History Month, although we highlight Black history on every single episode. But we thought it was important to really just highlight Southern since it is in our hometown Baton Rouge where we all live, and sometimes that personally I believe that Southern doesn't get all the recognition that it truly deserves.
Man, absolutely.
And this is coming from somebody who went to a PWI for undergrad and graduate school. So we just wanted to take the time to highlight Southern's rich history. Why students go to Southern, their stories, and I'm sure we have multiple stories here today. What we need to do to protect our HBCUs because it seems like a lot of them are under attack right now, So we just want to just kind of highlight all things Southern tonight, man. And with that being said, we just kind of want to dive into the history of Southern. And I've done my research, but again, I think you guys can do probably a better justice of like why the school was created in the first place. Anything about going through the Reconstruction period, or Jim Crow, Civil Rights movement, just even till today, just major accomplishments and milestones about the school.
I think I'll start off with that, and it all goes back to when Southern was started back in the 1800s. PBS Pinchback, one of the great buildings at Southern University, politician who thought that listen, he just had a vision for the underprivileged, for us, for newly freed slaves who were man, we always had this advantage, and I think that's what Southern really represents, is like a microcosm for us even today.
Right.
We always have to do a lot more with a lot less. Right. And what Pinchback did was he wanted to give the kids who really want opportunity to have the best opportunity they can to excel. We all know that Southern started in 1890 in New Orleans, Louisiana. Right. Eventually moved to our being Anthony's great hometown of Baton Rouge in 1914. And from there, Joseph Clark did an outstanding job of building the culture and everything that Southern would become today. Right. And we grew, right? And like we were Southern University was the definition of starting from the bottom. It's 12 students, 5 teachers. We had $10,000 budget for the first 15, 20, 30 years. $10,000. That's for everything. Teachers, maintenance, buildings. And we still found a way to grow. Right. We still found a way to overcome this adversity because we knew and Pinchback had a vision that our kids and education was always the most important things for us to get to the next level. Right. And as they grew, that message was spread, and as it spread more, it would just go to generations and generations. And I'm a testament to everything they did as when they started off the university. Right. Anthony, did you want to chime in?
Man, you segue to the early parts, and just kind of piggyback, man. Southern University is the only HBCU system in the whole entire world. Right. So, like, we have 5 different Southern University campuses. We have Southern University Baton Rouge, Southern University New Orleans, Southern University Shreveport, the law school, and the agriculture school that's on the campus as well. So, man, Southern University has created so many trends and trailblazed for so many institutions. Absolutely. I think one of the most notable and biggest one is the Human Jukebox Band. Right. Man, if you look at so many of the HBCU bands, Culture, Beyonce, Sierra, man, they, especially Beyonce with the Homecoming documentary, man, you saw sprinkles of Southern University. Matter of fact, I think she sold many clips of like
absolutely. She was we were the first one she showed because she had to pay homage, and that's why I always tell people, and I'll say it forever, that Southern University is the pinnacle and the greatest HBCU. It is. There ever was and there ever will be. Just from everything we created and everything we're still doing, not only culturally and because it is the heartbeat of the black culture in Louisiana. That's the South. Right. But also academically, with our departments, with the growth, with our extraordinary law school. One of our governors, he could have went to any law school he wants. We chose Southern.
I saw that. I was going through the notable alumni, and I was like,
he knew he wanted to go to the best. He wanted to go to the best.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And then like he had a choice to make. Can I go to LSU? Can I go to? I'm going to Southern. Right. Because I want to make sure I have the best opportunity. And all the black lawyers I know all went to Southern. They all have had all of them had exceptional careers.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, man, because I talk about it a lot, but I'm in the 100 Black Men, and it's probably a little bit over 100 members right now, and again, most of the lawyers, most of the doctors, most of the guys who are doing well in Baton Rouge, they all went to Southern.
Absolutely. And I think that greatness, it really speaks for itself. Like, you can talk about something, but when you can see the real numbers and the real facts and the numbers that we put out in all fields, not just our extraordinary lawyers, our nursing fields, engineering is extraordinary. Right. So I think that it's good where you can have every piece of the pie. Like, certain schools, are just known to be party schools. Certain schools are known for this. When you could just cover everything, every basis, entertainment, culture, vibrations, you can have a media moment, but also produce some of the best lawyers who can be some of the best politicians in the world.
So let's talk. I mean, you mentioned the band, the Human Jukebox, and we wanted to talk a little bit more about just some of the other just traditional and notable things about Southern. So one thing, and you can call me ignorant, just I don't
just throw it out there, bro.
You about to say Pretty Wednesday?
Pretty Wednesday. I need to know like
it's
the
back. We can't get mad.
No, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad. I actually
I enjoyed Pretty Wednesday.
Everybody enjoyed Pretty Wednesday.
Everybody enjoyed it.
We used to go.
Yeah, I used to be on y'all campus quite a bit. But I really want to know the history behind it. or like why was it even started? What was that all about?
So either correct me if I'm wrong, because you live in more. You can classify as an old head. So,
I'll take that now. I'll take that.
Hey man, that's a good thing. But in the College of Business, no, it'll be a couple years, a couple years ago. The students were always addressed to make sure that they wear professional attire to their class or whatever. So eventually along the way, somewhere in between there, it kind of spread amongst campus, and then eventually it turned to more of a social ordeal at the union. Everybody started dressing up in their best attire. Mostly like professional attire, professional clothes, like the professional setting. Kind of train everybody, before they graduate, knowing how to dress professionally, how to dress nice. Currently today, kind of transition.
You don't say.
My era. Even though my era a little recent, we carried that tradition, but kind of sort of on my way out. I don't know where it happened at. Kind of like more of a club scene type of deal. But I mean, it was include like DJs and other people come to campus. But other than that, Pretty Wednesday, man, no matter like is it time period, my time period, even people before I was
making you sound
really? Nah, cause people always say old Southern, new Southern. So
I'm really Bill Russell on this interview, huh? Like I'm not even.
Yeah, man.
So I think
you're not even Kareem, man.
Not Kareem.
But
You Bill.
to make you feel a little bit better, it could be Kobe LeBron.
There you go, the Kobe LeBron. All right.
Thank you.
Nah, man, he got the job.
But the piggyback on what Anthony said, it all really started in the College of Business. I was in TT Lane, and it was all about. It was supposed to be like a professional atmosphere, and it was just supposed to be that you wore your best to get ready for career fairs and job interviews, and just so you're comfortable in a suit. And it was more about you going to class. It had nothing to do with the
That's
union.
true.
It was supposed to be so this is what you should be wearing, and it's like an act as if type idea. So you're ready for corporate America, and it also gave you that kind of confidence. You go to class, you do presentations, things of that nature. But somewhere in those lines, you go to the unions, and then you have Greek culture and things like that, and then one fraternity might adopt it, and when they try to make it cool, and that's what a lot of happens with black culture. We can make it, we can put our own swag, our own energy on it, and then it just starts. It's an energy that it attracts other people. Like, well, they dressing up, I want to dress up. I don't want to feel like I'm less than. This supposed to be a business attire function thing. Totally just blew up and became an amazing thing. Like y'all just said, y'all from LSU came to see Pretty Wednesday because everybody wore their best.
Yeah, that's true. So, and shout out to Miss Albert too, marketing 300 teacher. She was the teacher.
I'm about to say who is
she? She was a very, very influential professor to like everybody who went to the College of Business. So, if Wednesdays, first of all, you couldn't get in her class if you were late.
Right.
She was one of those stern professors that taught you life lessons.
Right.
And I think a little bit of like where Pretty Wednesday kind of comes from too. She wouldn't let you in her class because Wednesday was professional dress day. And if you didn't have a tie as a man or as a lady, I don't know, I forgot what it was that the ladies had to wear.
Business skirt.
But
stockings,
if you didn't have that, you wasn't admitted in the class. You had to turn around and drive home.
Right.
And it was all about a professional work. It was all about the real world afterward. It had nothing to do with being pretty. It was about professional dress.
Right.
And we took it that way, and that's a good point. That's why I didn't schedule Miss Albert that day because I was always going to be late. But man, you're absolutely right, man. It was all about just carrying yourself as if using whatever kind of competitive advantage we can get to make sure that as soon as we get into that real world and that business type world that we were ready for.
Right. Yeah. Another thing I was just thinking about, man, because I was just in doing my research and reading about Southern prior to the podcast. When you think about the foundation of why Southern was created, it was created to give us opportunities that weren't available to us.
Absolutely.
At the time, we couldn't go to LSU, we couldn't go to Tulane, couldn't go to any of those schools, and Southern was created to provide those opportunities to us. But it makes me think about now when I read a recent article that says that there's an uptick in enrollments. Like there's this, I think, like a myth out here that, or a belief out here that enrollments are declining across like all HBCUs, when in fact they're actually increasing.
Absolutely.
And in the current environment that we live in, the political environment, just how polarizing it is.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of black people are finding HBCUs to be like a safe place to actually grow and become citizens of society. And it seems like I think that's just something that's dope, and I just kind of wanted to highlight that. Just kind of parallels between why it was created initially and then kind of where it is now with the uptick in enrollment and how people are really just gravitating to it, because I feel like we're getting a more of a sense of self-worth, self-value.
Absolutely, 100%.
And they see that going to HBCU only will increase that.
Okay, so I'm glad you really touched on that in regards to why people go to HBCUs. And I talk to young people now today, and they can go to any college they want to, but they want the experience. They want the utmost, the sheer essence of blackness and the sheer essence of the culture. And I think it's such a beautiful thing they gravitate to that because they have enough confidence in themselves that the really thing that matters is my mentality. I can exceed anywhere, but I want to go to where I will be supported the most, where I'll be loved the most, where I can cultivate my art or my dream. Everybody doesn't want to be a lawyer or doctor. Some people want to be dancers. Some people want to be artists. Some people want to mass communications, thing like that. And what better way to hone your craft than with your people? What better way to hone your craft to where you will be the supported the most, where you will be pushed the most to be your very best? And I think that's why it's always important for kids to always think about going to an HBCU because it's really you. And not only do you want to go to these places, you want to do like Anthony, people leave your mark. Anthony left a great mark on Southern University. I had extraordinary things. I saw his presence on social media, and I want my son to look at these kind of things like I want to be a part of that because that's me. I want to add my aspect to it, but I also want to learn and grow from people who know the opposition and adversity I'm going to face. And I also want to learn the history of what happened before I even got here.
And I really appreciate that, man. Kind of piggyback on what Isa just said, man. Just going to HBC, you just want to be in an environment you're around excellence of people who look just like you. When I was at Southern University SJ Press, I think one of the biggest things that opened my eyes, other than going to Southern, is traveling to see like other students at other institutions similar like Southern University. So like I think one of the biggest highlights of my matriculation, we went to a conference, a student government conference called NASAP. So it's like the National Association of like Student Affairs Students and Professionals. So basically every student government president, every SGA, every miss of a campus came to this one convention in Savannah, Georgia, and we just share around ideas, what we do on our campus, what we do on this campus, that campus, what might work at Southern, might work at Prairie View, what might Prairie View might not work at Southern, might work at Jackson State, and just seeing the respect and just seeing the excellence of so many different like colored people in one spot, you just like, wow.
So Anthony, I have a question for you, being that you were so well balanced at Southern. What do you think was instrumental in you being able to do everything you want to do? Because you had to be well rounded. I mean, you were on your academics, you did the Greek life, you did band, you graduated. You graduated while doing all of those things and doing them well. What do you think that it took?
The driving force.
What was your driving force?
Man, I had a couple driving force. I think that number one, being the first person in my immediate family to go to college. My mom and dad, they started like they first 2 years when they start having kids, they started working the usual during like that generation period work to support the family. But to go through, I was in honors college too, so I had a full academic scholarship, and being able to go through and do all these things. Like I had nobody in my family was Greek, nobody in my family marched in the band, nobody in my family ran for no position. So just being able to one, make my family proud, and two, to be that trailblazer for my family, and just being able to make my family proud and get through college period, being a black male going to college period, it was just like, I wake up every day knowing that I gotta go hard. I gotta give my 110% best, because not saying I'm doing this for myself as well, but I'm doing this for my family. I did have mentors. Like I said, I had people like, Iz I met along the way, different people along who was in different aspects. So like, I met Iz towards the end, but that still count. But just had different like mentors and people, who kind of saw me as I had a lot of potential in myself and took me under their wing. And knowing that, I come from an environment, when they know I ain't gonna say I ain't come from nothing, but didn't come from a family that was well versed in a collegiate like mindset of life, that they wanted to make sure I had everything I needed. And they want to kind of like give back, because one biggest thing I always told, they want to do something for somebody that did for them. And so I truly appreciate it, having black male role models, who been to a HBCU, who pledged Greek life, who got great paying jobs at the college, want to give back. They want to make sure they cultivate me to make sure I have what they had and more. So.
I think that's dope, man, because the fact that you had Izzy, who's probably closer to the age of me, and so I'm probably I won't. No, but I'm just saying. No, you're right. We're all around the same age. Anthony is a young one here, but the fact that you had somebody like Izzy who was coming back to the school, who did serve as a mentor for you. I think about my experience at LSU, and again, I'm not complaining about my experience. I met a lot of my best friends. got a circle doing well currently, so I don't have too many complaints. But when I think back about did I have those type of mentors that came back and just took me under their wing, I really didn't have that. On a previous podcast, I was saying that at LSU it's kind of like get it how you live.
Right, absolutely.
That's
it. Really, you really on your own island at LSU.
Yeah. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that made me stronger, but at the same time, I wish that I did have that type of support system around me, or people who can come back and say, look, man, this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to watch out for. And I didn't have that. So there were some mistakes that I made along the way that I probably could have avoided if, I had the proper guidance from somebody who just, graduated not too long before me. So, definitely an interesting point. But with that, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this. All right, everybody, we're back. We're continuing our episode on Southern University. And, Izzy and Anthony were just talking about the fact that, why it's important to go to HBCUs, why you would want to go to HBCU, the culture that it provides, the richness that it provides. So I wanted to, not just you two guys, but GP and Jay, since you guys also attended Southern, I want you guys to talk about your experience and why you specifically chose to go to Southern. Because I know I've been asking people all day, and it seems like the answers vary widely as to why people choose to go to schools, of course. But I want to get your takes on why you chose to go to Southern.
Well, I'll start off first. My story is pretty much like the opposite from Anthony, right? He was a first generation. In my prehistoric area, I'm actually a third generation. My grandparents went to Southern. My great grandparents went to Southern. My uncles went to Southern. It was really just, it was a culture. It was just like a norm that you were a part of this culture. And Southern University was my first introduction really to black culture. I was going to the football games and basketball games when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I was on the campus seeing everything. I would go visit my uncle in his classes, things like that. So it was always embedded in my DNA. My grandparents grew up in Southern Heights right there. So it was really the only thing I really knew. So it was already a predetermined destination for me, no matter what was going to happen, and that I would actually achieve there, because like my uncle, he started off undergrad in engineering and went on to get his doctorate at Florida, and he taught there. My uncle, he was a computer science department in TT Lane, and when I was there, he was there. So I mean, we always knew it was a safe place, and you would always be supported and nurtured while you were there.
Did you apply to any other schools?
Just Southern University.
All right, GP. So tell me, why did you choose to go to Southern?
So for me, I always went to a white school. I went to white high school, white middle school.
You always rep your school, say their name?
Yeah, Central Catholic, baby. Yeah, man, I love it. But, it was white. So for me, I felt like, going to college was an opportunity for me to be around black people, because, my parents sheltered me a little bit. So the only black people I was really around was family and people I played sports with, and a couple of my classmates, but majority I've always gone to school, a white school. Right. So I just wanted that black culture. Right. I wanted the HBCU experience. I wanted, what I used to see on TV on Bayou Classic, because when we was kids, Bayou Classic was like was like way bigger than what it is now. It was like nationally televised. So that was my reasoning.
Let me ask you this. Did you experience any type of culture shock? Being that you were... because you should have saw his side of the tracks. But the reason I asked is because I know black people who... I just went to Southern, went to other HBCUs who went to predominantly white high schools, and then they went to like a majority black college, and it was just total culture shock.
Hey man, I'm gonna tell you, bro, that culture shock was like real. It was major culture shock for me. Not so much going to class and just being around the campus, but I lived in Jones Hall, and that that was very culture shock. So
would you say your culture shock came more from being around more black people, or because you said you were sheltered, was it having that freedom and now you free as hell?
Nah,
and having a different, different demographic. at the same time?
It was more or less of a different demographic for me because I still was in a controlled environment so much because we lived on campus. It's not like I had an apartment,
Right.
So the dorm rules wasn't exactly just a free for all. You know what I mean? Obviously it was a little bit more freedom,
Right.
but for me it was just the demographic of the people. Because I hadn't been around that many black people before.
All right, bringing this to you, Anthony. So, what was your reason for going to SU?
Man, just knowing so many great people going to Southern. We said just HBCU. My bad. Just HBCU period.
Or it could be HBCU or specifically Southern, like why you chose to go to Southern. Yeah.
So yeah, just seeing the products, a lot of people like teachers, mentors, family members. Like my uncle, my aunt, they both went to Southern. So just seeing them and just them talking about their experiences and just seeing it like on YouTube. I saw like videos of the band. Like the band was like one of the things. It's just like anybody probably take about Southern University, first thing they'll say they marching band. Like as a kid growing up, going to the football games, I remember the atmosphere, the football games, the band, halftime show, the dancing dolls. So it's like, man, when I get older, I want to be in the mix of this. Like I want
dancing dolls.
I mean, hey, bro. Hey man,
dolls.
Man, that's a lineage. That's a legacy for real. But you just want to be like when you be younger and you get older, you be like, wow, I want to be a part of that.
Right.
So when I got to high school, I went to Scholarville High, literally down the street from Southern University. So just nothing but Southern products, Southern teachers, and then it was like almost a line for me to go to Southern. So I did apply to different institutions. I got accepted to Howard, FAMU, and LSU.
Okay.
And Southern. So
those are the only schools you applied to?
Only schools I applied to.
Okay.
So here in Louisiana, I got the top scholarship and I got an honors college scholarship. That was basically a full ride.
Right.
To Southern. LSU, I ain't get no scholarship other than top. So I was like, I just kind of juggled financially. We'll be smart. Right. And Southern just felt perfect for me.
Made the best move for you. Yes. I got you. I guess I got a question for you two guys. Izzy and Anthony. I know there's this myth sometimes that, like GP, you mentioned you were in culture shock going to Southern from a predominantly white high school. But I know it seems there's a myth that, if you go to HBCU and then you go out into the real world where it's not like that you may, like sometimes the students might be in culture shock. Can you dispel that myth? Or talk, like, were you in culture shock once you actually graduated?
Absolutely not, because I think that the thing about Southern is it's still a family, and if you're actually, and Anthony can attest this, if you're doing Southern the right way, you're going to make a lot of connections. Right. And when you're making a lot of connections, you actually have more of a benefit going to Southern University because if you put certain things in your resumes or people coming to see you, oh, he's Greek, I'm Greek, okay, perfect. So they'll put an arm around you in the corporate world and be like, okay, this is how they do things, watch out for this. So you, like, that's the beautiful thing about Southern University. The mentorship and a brotherhood, it doesn't stop when you graduate. It only gets stronger because now you have a bigger pool of people that went to Southern or people that were in your Greek organization or people that can understand and went to an HBCU. So it actually makes life better. Right. And that's one of the misconceptions that people don't really know about. Go to an HBCU because you are always surrounded by love. I know at certain people go to PWIs, you're on an island more or less. Right. At Southern University, it's always going to be family because it's always going to, like, if you see a resume of HR and they went to HBCU, you were in a good place. Like, okay, they're one of us. So it was always a compliment to me because I've been in staff meetings, I've been in corporate meetings that us, we look at each other like, oh, okay,
the head nod,
and so whenever you can get that and you can bring somebody else in, or if I'm making calls or contacts for this position and she went to Grambling, she got you. And like, Grambling and Southern hate each other. Right. But when you out there in that real world, you competing for that job, it's somebody from Grambling, it's love. They're rocking with you. Gotcha. And that's one of the most beautiful things, man. HBCUs is always family. We always got us at the end of the day.
Gotcha.
And kind of piggyback what Izzy just said, man, that's a lot of corporate jobs or organizations, man, that are putting funding into getting HBCU students. So they know that HBCU students are the gold mine, or the next the next big thing.
I'll be at your career. I'll be at the career fair recruiting myself.
So I definitely, when I kind of saw that, when I've been to a conference, I kind of see that these major corporations are really putting money into diversity to get HBCU students. That shows that their admiration for what HBCU students produce. Right. It's it's going to all time high. So.
All right, I got you. Well, look, let me jump in there right quick.
Jump in, G.
Because I went to both, and I think that stigma comes in, or that type of false narrative comes from the fact that like a PWI when I was at LSU, it kind of, like you said, you kind of was like out there, you were on your own, really,
Right.
you know. And a lot of times people feel like that's the best teacher to prepare you for the real world.
Right.
But when you talk about Southern, my experience with Southern was people cared about you enough to go out of their way to assist you. And a lot of times, you know, some people might look at that as being babied, but at the same time, you had teachers that looked like you, that navigated their way through corporate America, and that's why they're there to teach you, and they're preparing you like, hey, look, you know, as a young black man, these are some of the challenges that you're going to face in a corporate setting, and they can actually help prepare you for that. Right. Another thing, too, is like my company, I work for AT&T. AT&T was always on Southern campus, you know, recruiting with programs. You know, it's an advantage to be on Southern because these major companies that's looking for minorities, they camp out at Southern because, you know, you want a young black professional to balance out your diversity.
Right.
Where better to go than Southern in Louisiana? You know what I mean? So those are some of the advantages that you have by going to Southern versus a predominantly white institution.
And I'm gonna come back to that, but I want to get to Jay right quick since I know he went to Southern's law school. So, but I know you went to LSU for undergrad like we did. So I just wanted to talk about why you chose to go to Southern Law.
I mean, my motivation to go there was a little different. When I wanted to make a decision as far as colleges went, I just wanted to go where I could get what I need to get done.
Right.
A lot of the black attorneys coming out of Monroe, where I'm from, was, you know, the pipeline went through Southern. You know,
even though Grambling
Grambling
don't have a law school. Right.
It's LSU, Southern, Loyola, and Tulane.
Right.
Also, Southern was the cheapest.
Okay.
I didn't see no reason to go give Tulane $10,000 a semester, but I can pay the Southern $3,500. And then I knew a couple people who already at Southern, so I kind of had become familiar with the law center. So I mean, I said I'm gonna go there. That's the only place I applied.
Gotcha. And so, what would you say about your experiences at the law school and the type of lawyer it made you?
I had a great experience at Southern. You know, I had a bond. Like with a lot of people that I still have.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that because a bunch
of them at the sneaker ball.
Exactly, I've met a lot of lawyers that you're still close to. So I think that is pretty dope because I think about my MBA program at LSU. Man, I don't talk to none. I don't talk to none of the people. It's a few people. It's a few people I have connections to, but for the most part, it's not to the level that you have, and so that's something I definitely admire. But for those who didn't go to an HBCU like myself, I'll start with you, Shag. So why did you choose LSU, and did you apply to any HBCUs?
I did not apply to any HBCUs, although looking at an HBCU strongly influenced where I wanted to do as far as college.
What you mean?
My cousin, she married a graduate of Southern University. He was an architect.
Okay.
He went to school at Southern for architecture. At the time, Southern was one of the best schools in Louisiana for architecture. By the time, you know, I was coming to be graduating high school, we had a great guidance counselor at Northside. Northside, predominantly black school in Lafayette. So I already had that black experience, but that wasn't even what pushed me to LSU. She sat me down. She said, look, you're interested in architecture. She said Southern's a great school, but it's not as great as it used to be in architecture. Right now, LSU has
Let me ask you this:
the prominence in architecture. So,
was that person white or black?
She was white,
okay.
But she showed me statistics. She showed me real numbers. She sat me down and showed me real numbers. Now, I don't think she was one just pushing people just because it was a white black school.
Right.
She sat down and sent people to where they wanted to go.
Right.
She recommended my girl at the time to go to Southern for nursing.
Right.
Southern had a great nursing program.
Right.
So I knew she wasn't just pushing people for, just to be pushing them.
Gotcha.
So I applied to University of Miami, which had a great architecture school at the time, and LSU. I got into both. But money-wise, LSU made more sense because I got TOPS.
Miami is a private school and it's out of state.
Yeah. I got Pell Grants, all that. Miami was going to be hitting me for some serious money.
Right.
So, I decided to go to LSU.
What about you, Jay, going to LSU for undergrad?
I mean, originally, I really wanted to go to Howard or Morehouse.
Same here.
My brother and a lot of my family was in Atlanta at the time. So, but my parents was like, man, tops.
Right. That's real.
Saving grace.
You could take that off your mind.
Right.
So ultimately, I didn't want to be nowhere around Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
So I ultimately ended up picking LSU.
Right.
My brother had went to Southern for a couple of weeks back in like '94. At that time, they messed his registration up. So he'd been going to school for like 2.5 weeks and wasn't officially registered with the school.
You can't laugh at that, Anthony. You can't co-sign registration. You can't co-sign registration issues.
That's like a normal store.
That is every other day. That is every other day.
So
That's like good customer service at Chick-fil-A. It happens often.
That never happens at Southern.
Never.
He
Never.
He ended up going to Louisiana Tech.
Okay.
And then I had another brother who went over there, and after his first semester, his GPA was like 1.6. Like he was suspended. He couldn't even come right back.
He was having too much fun.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
she was like, yeah, you're not going over there. So I just like, well, I go to LSU.
Right.
Because I knew a lot of people that were here
Right.
in Baton Rouge. So, I mean, it was that simple. I only applied to LSU. I got in. That was that.
Yeah. For me, I wanted to go to Morehouse because my dad went to Morehouse, and my mom went to Clark, Atlanta, and so I applied to Morehouse, Clark, Atlanta, Howard, FAMU, and LSU. Didn't want to stay in New Orleans, so I didn't apply to Xavier, Dillard, Tulane, none of that. And due to some family circumstances, financial situations changed, so the Morehouse and going out of state, that just kind of changed for me. And I knew a bunch of people that were going to LSU. I liked LSU football, so I was like, look, I'm going to go to LSU. And that's really just what it was. It wasn't really planned out or thought out more than that. I got tops, so I was in a good position financially to go to LSU, and really that's just what it came down to. I didn't have any other guidance as far as guiding me into going to the schools for certain majors or, the environment of the school or anything like that. I didn't have that guidance, so I just kind of rolled with LSU. Plus, my high school was like mixed. It was maybe 60% white, 40% black. So I was used to seeing white folks, So it wasn't gonna be a culture shock for me. I thought I would just kind of seamlessly transition, but when I got to LSU, man, that first year, it was rough.
They won the title as soon as you got there too.
What happened?
They won the title as soon as you got there.
We went in with a title. I left with a title.
Go ahead, Chef.
I forgot to say that one of the biggest reasons for me, because I was in I was in the engineering academy at Northside. We had an engineering academy. They taught us stuff like CAD, design. We was programming robots. We was doing all kind of stuff over there. And the teacher, Miss Spikes, she kind of got wind, that's what I really wanted to do. I was going to be bouncing into architectural engineering. But not only that, LSU has a program, Summer Scholars. It's for black students, black people coming into their freshman year. So you actually start college the summer right after your senior year of high school. So it gives you no chances for that summer break, that summer boneheadedness.
You go straight into it.
You go straight into it. It's for all black students. You get a scholarship for the summer. They teach you how to schedule classes. They try to get you started off with a 4.0. They teach you everything you basically need to know being black, surviving at a PWI. And that no lie, it kind of helped us transition. They gave us the leg up on everything, taught us how to use all the resources on campus. It pretty much gave us the helping hand of having a mentor there, and we lived on campus.
Right.
You had to check in. It was just like you had a parent living with you on campus, because you had these counselors. RAs were your counselors. They were the counselors of the program, and they were RAs of the dorm you stayed in. They lived with you. They took you to your classes. They took you to schedule. They taught you how to do your all your financial things on campus. So that was a big help in being black, transitioning into something that scary at the time. And started off with a 4.0, and they taught you how to maintain good grades because it's hard to go from a 4.0 for you to mess up completely. And I think it was great just going straight from right after you graduated to summer having a leg up.
One other thing before we go to break that I kind of wanted to hit on is, and I'll just be honest, and you guys might have heard it too. I mean, even though y'all went to HBCUs, when I was applying, there was some people who told me, "Look, man, don't apply to this school," and it was in reference to certain HBCUs. And I feel like that happens more than it probably needs to happen. where people are saying, "Hey, don't go to Southern, don't go to Grambling," or they feeding the stereotypes about HBCUs, and they discourage black students from actually going.
Absolutely.
And so, how do you guys feel about that, being that you are, proud products of Southern University?
I think you have to really just look at who's telling you this.
Right.
It's no successful graduate has ever told you not to go to Southern.
Right.
It's always somebody at the barbershop. It's always the cousin who didn't graduate. It's always somebody who dropped. You just have to listen at where you're getting this advice from.
Right.
When I have doctors and successful aunts who have amazing homes, there is nothing, because I see the proofs in the pudding. I see the numbers that nothing you're going to tell me.
Right.
Okay, I see why. So what year you graduated?
Right.
Oh no, I didn't finish. It didn't went to humming because you're telling me you just don't like it for whatever reason.
Right.
And I'll be the first to advocate for it. So listen, Southern takes a lot of mental willpower and a lot of mental discipline. And I thought I had it my freshman year, and I didn't. That first semester, whoo.
Hey, I think a lot of us.
That first semester, whoo. It got the best of me, but you learn. But I like I said, I always had great mentors, and I read a terrifying statistic about with black kids. The most times when black kids, they drop out of college is their first semester, and it's always from first generation families. And the reason why they drop from first generation families is because the mom, she didn't go to college. So if a child has a rough semester, which might be normal because you don't have a program, they're gonna tell you, baby, come on home. Come on, it's okay. They'll be like, I didn't do it. You don't have to do it either. It's okay.
Right.
If you have a college graduate in your family, they don't laugh. You had a bad one. I know. Listen, them girls, it's all. They're gonna understand exactly what you're going through, and they're gonna be like, listen, it's not the end of the world. You did this wrong. Let's look at your schedule. Let's fix this to make sure you don't do this, and stay out the union, and you'll be okay.
Gotcha. But with that. Well, did you want to say anything, Anthony, before I go to
He kind of touched on everything. I think I always say nobody can tell you about an HBCU unless you went to HBCU.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think people have their myths. People say this. People say that it's a party school, this and that, scandals, X, Y, and Z. But I think at the end of the day, no institution is perfect.
Right. No.
I think
not
even
one.
I think even the biggest institutions that's PWIs having stuff going on.
Absolutely.
It's just
right.
Absolutely.
You're right.
I think a good example. I think they had a robbery on LSU campus. I think some young men was supposed to
armed robbery in a dorm.
Yeah, 2:30 a.m. come play some game. They got robbed, and now y'all done found out 2 of the students go to Southern.
Right.
And so now y'all make sure y'all insert that in the article just to kind of still taint. You know what I'm saying? Southern. So
it happens.
That tells you right there.
Let me say, it ain't us that inserted into the
I know
article.
it's
the media.
It's the media.
Right. It's the media.
Oh yeah.
Right. Definitely.
So,
But I do agree with you on that, because they it had a robbery at LSU campus, and they didn't say it was on LSU campus. They said near South Baton Rouge.
Burbank.
Near South Baton Rouge. And it was like, that's right at every LSU student heard the road it was on. It was like, that's LSU campus? That's LSU campus.
Right.
But if something happens 30 blocks from Southern, they say near Southern.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a stigma. That's all it's going to
The
be.
media.
Right.
Well, the media helps, and I think the people that speak negatively of Southern, it's always some materialistic things, right? It's always something like, you got to think about what people are going to think about your degree. Well, people care about how you perform. They don't really care about where you got your degree from.
Right, absolutely.
Number one.
Exactly.
Number two, they look at cosmetics like, okay, LSU has more resources, so the campus looks better.
Right.
It's prettier. The alumni base is bigger. Some of the resources are antiquated, and those are the type of things that people get caught up on.
Nah, that's real. That's real. But with that, we're gonna take another break, and we'll be back right after this. All right, everybody, we're back with more about Southern University. We're here with Izzy and Anthony. So let's continue this conversation, man. So in this next section, we just want to kind of talk about the impact that Southern has had on the Baton Rouge community, and then after that, we want to talk about just how do we protect our HBCUs? What do we need to do financially to truly support our HBCUs? So as far as the impact on Baton Rouge, I know both of you guys are from Baton Rouge.
Yes.
I know, Izzy, you said you have a bunch of family members who went to Southern. So just talk about the impact that Southern has had on Baton Rouge in general, not just North Baton Rouge, but Baton Rouge and really the world. Just the impact that Southern's had.
I'm glad you touched on that. I think that, like I said before, Southern is kind of like the pulse of black culture, like in Louisiana as a whole. I feel like anything culturally relevant, anything that's happening, always goes through Southern University, whether it's entertainment, whether it's through our extraordinary homecomings.
Grambling folks gonna be mad.
Huh?
I said Grambling folks gonna be mad.
Who cares about Grambling? This isn't the Grambling show. Nobody go to bike class to see Grambling. They Otis. Okay, Grambling's Otis. Let's be real. Anyway, back to it. So Southern University is the reason why, like the cultural impact, man, it's global, man. Everybody knows Southern University, man. It's one of the greatest. It's like one of the 10th wonders of the world because people want to emulate, people want to copy it. You don't see Grambling getting invited to the White House. You don't see Grambling at Rose Bowl or the Staples Center. They want to see the number one. They want to see the best.
Right.
And that culture, it just really speaks for itself, and it's one of those things. Certain people fall off. Southern band doesn't.
Right.
Greatest band of all time.
Right.
No, there is no competition. I don't want to hear about Ohio State. It is the greatest cultural. It's been the most mocked, imitated bands, and it keeps other HBCUs alive with what we've been able to do because we are the absolute standard. So that's why it's such a great symbol to go. I can go anywhere in the country for work. I can go to California. Oh my God, y'all band is amazing. I'll take that compliment.
Right.
Where'd you go? Harvard. Okay, cool. What do y'all band do? You know? But it's a good thing to just have something to take pride in and have something just so culturally relevant that's going to stand the test of time. Southern band was here before I got here. Southern band will be here when I leave. And it's a beautiful thing. So that's why I want to touch on the impact. But it goes bigger than our band. If you go on YouTube, they talk about our band. They talk about our Greek organizations. They talk about the Dancing Dolls. They talk about the culture. They talk about Pretty Wednesday. And you really can't get that at any other university because of the exposure we have starting off with our band.
Gotcha.
Anthony, I'm going to let you.
He basically say everything in a nutshell, but definitely, man, just culturally, economically, and just in the workforce in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. You know, you go to the workforce, you go down, especially like the state capital. I work at the state capitol. You know, nothing but Southern graduates, the representatives, senators. A lot of them just like came through Southern University, have ties with the law school, have ties with the institution. Southern University, it's just especially North Baton Rouge. North Baton Rouge heartbeat is Southern University.
Yes.
When you come into Scotlandville, Louisiana, you get off the interstate, you come down Harley Boulevard, you see that hump,
Right.
you see that bridge, and you know it's a whole nother world
Right.
across that bridge. And just like he said, from the homecomings and just in the culture that Southern University just spread throughout Baton Rouge. Like just like LSU, a lot of people say when you cross a certain line or a certain part of Baton Rouge, a whole different part of Baton Rouge. But when you come to North Baton Rouge, you see that Southern University is has one of the greatest impacts on that side of town.
Absolutely.
So, gotcha.
Well, something else I want to add too. We talked about it on the previous podcast. We talked about the challenges of certain demographics and standardized testing, and I feel like Southern University, one of the great things they do is they give more people an opportunity to be admitted into the university.
Absolutely.
Than people who wouldn't have a chance. So they take a chance on somebody who may be able to come in, do the work, but might have had like a 17 on the ACT.
Right.
But they were a better student than the standardized tests indicated.
Can I piggyback? I don't mean to cut anybody off. My uncle, so he went to Southern like in the 80s, I believe. And you have to realize when he was at Southern, there wasn't any requirements. If you're a black student, you want to come to Southern, you got the money, you can come.
Right.
So when they put the 2.5 requirement on Southern, he was like, what? Why would they do that? Like, why would they limit? Like, we have all this opposition. You don't know what school this child came from.
Right.
Let them come to college and shine.
Right.
Because he said, like, he went to college and it'd be kids with F GPAs, but they come out engineers because you just need the right opportunity. And that was a beautiful thing. Southern was a gateway, man. A gateway to your excellence, a gateway to your greatness that you might not be in for that opportunity. You might have went to the wrong high school and they might have told you will never be nothing. At Southern, if it's no other thing, you're going to be loved.
Right.
You're going to be supported. If you want to go into it, your teachers are going to be on you like, why aren't you in class? You go to another school, they don't care about you, man. You're a number.
GP tells a good story. He told it on the last one too. Tell that story again.
I'll repeat it, man. So I started working, obviously, and I was working a lot of hours. I was a part-time employee, but I was working about 55, 60 hours a week. I don't know how that that math adds up. But anyways,
It's a lot.
so I was missing a lot of my accounting class, and Lori Patterson, my professor at the time. Yeah, man, Miss Patterson, man, I love her
She
to
didn't
death.
play, man. That's
But
good, though.
let me tell you what she did though. She knew I was missing a lot of class, and I communicated to her that I was logging a lot of extra hours at work, and she showed up to my job and bought me like, a bunch of PowerPoint presentations and notes.
Right.
Because she saw that I was trying to better myself. I was working a lot, and she took that time to invest in me to make sure that I had every opportunity that I needed to pass the test and pass the class.
Yeah, and I
That'll never happen at LSU.
that definitely would have happened at LSU.
Dr. Allen and Dr. Moore would 100%.
You talking about, but you're talking about two black professors. I'm talking about in general.
But that,
Well, we can't generalize. You do have some professors that carry PWIs, and it's gonna be men like that make sure you succeed.
You talking about black professors though?
But,
Yeah, I am talking about black professors.
I'm not going to insinuate that people at PWIs don't care about you,
Right.
but I don't see them going to that extra mile to come to somebody's job and bring you notes.
But
I had a couple professors that helped me out. I mean, it wasn't just inherent though. I built relationships
Right.
with those professors.
I had some white professors to do the same, but it's because some scholars taught me to sit in the T section in class. That's the T section. If you don't know and you're listening, it's right in the front. Sit on
down
the
the
front
middle.
row or down the middle. That's where a professor's attention are the whole time. They gonna notice you. They gonna know your face. And when it coming down to that borderline grade, you gonna get the benefit of the doubt because they gonna remember seeing you. Hit them office hours too.
What I'll say in regard to my experience at LSU, I never had a teacher who went through that length for me. The last thing I'll say on that, I think at a school like Southern or another HBCU, I just think it's naturally ingrained and the support system just naturally just there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you may have of course you need to work hard and do stuff and communicate, but that environment, takes care of you.
It's more nurtured.
It's more nurturing.
Absolutely.
Whereas I felt like at LSU I had to jump through all kind of hoops and hurdles just to get
Acknowledged or noticed.
just the
you-
average
Well,
acknowledgement.
you a number. 32,000 students. You a number.
I'll say this, spending time at both, I've had professors at LSU to help me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I didn't have any help
Yeah.
when I was at LSU.
Yeah.
But to the length of some of my professors at Southern went, and I just talked about Miss Patterson because
But it's so
that
many.
was the biggest. That's the greatest experience to me.
Right.
But I've had professors call me on the phone, on my cell phone, be like, "Hey, look, I didn't see you this morning."
Right.
And it's not that I tried to cultivate the relationship with my professors. They just went out of their way to make sure, and it's at an HBCU, your job is to make sure that you have more black graduates, right?
Right.
And they wanted to make sure that you graduated. At LSU, it's more of a feel like you gotta want it. I'm gonna help you if you want it, but it's not as big of a push, in my opinion.
What you got, brother?
Well, that's not possible at LSU. It's too many students.
I agree.
Most of the classes I was in,
It's business.
the average class I was in had about 300 students in it.
Yeah.
The biggest
Average?
class I was in,
Yeah, first couple
marketing,
years. Yeah, first
had
couple
1,000
years.
students.
Oh
in
yeah,
it.
Carrie Charlotte. Yeah,
So
that was
you ain't
1,000.
gonna be looking at the roll like, oh, well they missed 2 days in a row. Let me give them a call, and you got 1,000 students
No,
in your
but
class.
you're right. But
It'll happen.
But in
It'll
some of
happen
your
in-
specialized classes, you might have had about 20, 30
I'm gonna
people
say,
in
yeah,
there.
it'll happen in architecture. It ain't happening in no calculus.
All right.
So,
Oh yeah, it's definitely not happening.
But I had a little bit of both, which I didn't tell y'all. I had a little bit of both experiences because my first couple semesters I was cross enrolling. Like people, do they still do that? Like I was cross enrolled in Southern
Anthony would know that one.
Yeah,
It's still
young
cross
blood.
enrolled.
Yeah,
They do?
for architect, we don't have an architecture program no more. But I think a lot of people do it for the engineering portion.
Okay.
Program.
Well, you could do that with even I took my econ at Southern.
Okay,
I
yeah.
took my macro and micro at Southern.
Took a couple classes at BRCC.
I did too.
I did too.
Super cheap. Summer school,
Yep, that's some
it
schools.
was like $300 a class.
There were a couple good easy ass.
Hey, get it. Hey, get
Hey,
it.
I took
yeah.
business calculus over there.
As
Me
long
too.
as you get that grade on that transcript, that's all that matters.
Yo,
But let's jump into what we need to do to protect our HBCUs, because just from the outside looking in and based on just articles that I read, you guys would know better that it seems like our HBCUs are under attack. That some are under the threat of closing. That states aren't funding schools like they're supposed to. LSU talks about their cuts, but it's probably nothing in comparison to what Southern has to face, you know. And LSU is still good. They still build new buildings, you know, every year it seems like. And you know, it seems, and we had a previous conversation where some Xavier graduates, they were saying that, you know, Xavier produces all these doctors, but some of the students aren't giving back financially in the ways that they need to. And so that kind of brings up the question, like, who's the onus? Who should the onus be on? Should it be on the graduates? Should it be on the state? Should the state care more? Should the feds care more to actually invest more into education? And I know we were kind of having a conversation off air, and I know you had some points you wanted to make in regards to that.
I mean, that's a very a delicate question, but I mean, in the facts of the numbers is originally the states was giving a lot more in their education. They were giving a lot more to HBCUs. They were allocating around about 70% of their funds to help HBCUs to cover costs, to cover everything of that nature. Well, when you go to a point where they cut from 70% to 30%,
Right.
and it's like 2017, you're really. It's just like if you have a job. If your salary cuts from 100% to 50%, like what are you gonna do? Should you? So are you gonna just save more money, or you might be trying to find the job? So since it's an institution and we love it, we are going to do our part, and it really is more of a call action. You know what I mean, you really just have to adapt to it. You really just have to be more aggressive about asking for funding, but you also have to go to the state and be like, what are we doing? You know, we have to exhaust every resource we can because money is needed for our university to grow, just for it to stay open. Because I mean, the overall point is for Southern to reach more and more people. Right. But if the money's not there, it's just not going to happen. Right. So I think that a call to action is listen. It's really all hands on deck right now. Give back when you can, give back more when you can, support your university when you can. I know some people do forget about HBCU. They forget about all schools. So it's really on everyone. We need to talk about the government, but we also need to come out of our pockets more to help our universities.
Gotcha. To piggyback on what you said on the government as a whole, they did a big higher education cut. It may have affected Southern more because Southern is smaller, but they hit LSU even a little harder. Like the last budget cut, I found numbers on.
Well, they might have hit them harder from a financial dollar standpoint, but at the end of the day,
no, that's what I'm saying. Because Southern is smaller, then it's gonna need alumni to step up to fill those holes. Because LSU has so many alumni and they hit so many people for donations, they can still stand on that. So when the government hits, when LSU gets a cut and they took $65 million from LSU. LSU might still be all right because they have all these graduates still kicking.
Their endowment is ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. The endowment is ridiculous. They took $4.6 million from Southern the last budget cut, but that $4.6 million hit differently because you got a lot to work with in the first place. So to piggyback on what he said, like, these alumni need to step up and realize you need to research things like this and give back to your school that's helped you.
Right. But I think on the other side of the coin, I think, like I said, y'all made some valid points, but I think our institutes like HBCUs, I think one problem, myself, I really saw during my tenure as student government president, I think our institute have to show growth. A lot of HBCUs are in a stagnant stage right now. A lot of them are progressing. I think we kind of touched on, I hate to say it, Lord, I'm not a Grambling fan, but when you see institutions like Grambling growing, in different areas, different aspects, alumni will be more willing to give back. Right. And I think that's one of the negative stigmas. And I hate to say I love Southern to death, but that's one of the negatives that a lot of alumni say. They don't see the growth. Where's my money going? Right. I come on campus, why the grass not cut? Right. Why I don't see no building? Why I still see buildings? With the city link. And like I said, it's uncomfortable statements and questions, but it's needed for growth.
Are you gonna go back after you graduate to kind of handle PR and try to put the school in a better light, or is that something you aspire to do, to go back and work for your university once you finish with grad?
So I do. When I leave LSU for grad, I'm going back for law school, and so when I get my JD and become an Esquire, I do want to go back and work in the HBCU in a sense, in the communication sense, and on more PR and on strategic communication sense. So yeah, I definitely do.
See, I caught that when you said you was gonna bring that back later.
Yeah, so you appreciate that. But I think that's one of the things a lot of HBCU had to jump over that hurdle. I think once a lot of HBCU start show the growth in their institution, a lot of alumni will start to give back more. But as I said, a lot of the things too, like I said, who to blame for that that. I think it goes back to like funding, state funding. I think Southern just got a funding. I think for one of our bridges in the back that goes to our dormitories in the back. It actually collapsed. 'Cause I think it goes over a ravine.
Yeah.
But I think the erosion is cracking the
I
bridge.
saw the construction over
So the
there.
governor had to allocate, I think, more money so they could start on that project. I think it's almost finished. For the last time I've been on campus, but I think it just goes to show progressive leadership and just showing growth.
Right.
And I think once HBCUs get on that, every HBCU get on that, I think a lot more alumni will be more prone to give. When you go to LSU campus, you see the growth.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
Yeah.
Like, what's their new facility just built for the football player just to go and relax?
Oh, with the airplane
man.
pod things, yeah, man.
Well, that's a little different. That was outside.
Well, you
money
gotta
that
realize
took
how much
care of
money that the
Yeah.
football program
Yeah.
bringing in. That's
Yeah,
$900
it's true.
million.
Yeah, let's
That's
separate,
$900
let's
million.
separate
My bad.
athletic foundation
My
money
bad.
from the school money.
Right,
That's
yeah.
true.
And they're alumni from the NFL. Yeah,
But I just want to tie it in when you come back on campus, you see like that, you be like,
Yeah,
okay.
you see progression.
You see
Right, yeah,
progression,
right.
you know.
That's a
I
very
feel
good
you.
point, though.
Yeah,
Valid point.
because I mean, all of my years at LSU, you know, we were in SEBA or whatnot, and then when I left, they built this brand new, spanking new, like, you know, business building. I'm like, I guess that's where my money went. You know what I'm saying?
And you feel comfortable, like, okay,
Right.
next time you do want to make that payment, okay,
Right.
We
I
felt
know
like
where
that.
it's
We
going.
felt like that about the union because we was like, well, I'm about to go use this brand new union
Yeah.
anytime I want because they've been taking it out my
My
fee
month's
bill
cheap,
for so
right.
long. But so, you know, I think part of the thing could be like when you have these prestigious graduates like the lawyers and the doctors and all these people that went to your university. I used to see a lot more pride in them people wanting to have a building with their name on it. Like somebody wanting to, need to hit them up and.
But it's a limited amount of buildings.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody can't get a building.
It's a limited amount, but it's some things you can do.
You get a brick.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there was some schools that
Well,
give you a brick.
well, you will give everybody a brick upon graduation. I don't know people that go back and be proud to find a brick. I think that's pretty dope. That makes somebody proud to be an alumni there. You can go there and find your name at any given point.
And I'm be coming right to you after this, Jay. The one thing I'll say, most of the older alumni that I know, like in the 100, and that's the lawyers and the doctors, they giving heavy to Southern. Like they are giving financially, and they're not worried about a name on the building. They really giving some serious dollars, and I definitely commend them for that. Because like I was saying before the podcast,
You're not about to give LSU
I ain't
money.
give y'all good. You know what I'm saying? I'm more likely to give Southern or HBCU
see.
money, and I didn't even graduate from there.
LSU could pass me some money.
Right.
They good.
Right, yeah, LSU, yeah, LSU straight.
Yeah, give me another refund. But Jay, I know you wanted to say
I
something,
was just
bro.
say I remember one of my student jobs I had the opportunity to look at some of the checks coming through there from the alumni. LSU alumni are handling their business. They write $100,000 checks, $700,000 checks, $1 billion checks, and they coming through there all the time.
Right.
So I think the biggest thing is going to be transparency and accountability. Unfortunately, HBCUs are going to have more scrutiny.
Oh, of
Oh,
course.
absolutely.
We face more scrutiny on everything.
Especially by black people.
Oh.
We are worse. Now that's a very good point. We are our own worst enemy. We're the worst publicity for us than anything.
But you see,
So in order for them to feel comfortable giving the money, like he said, one, they want to see that the money is being used effectively.
Right.
You know, like we got to have policies in place on how people are handling their business.
Right.
We got to have people that's qualified handling the money.
Right.
And we got to have people auditing to make sure that everything's going where it's supposed to go.
Exactly.
And all that has to be transparent.
Right.
If you're not doing it, people not going to give because they going to feel like I'm giving the money. I'm not seeing any progress. Where's the money going?
And then you see the scandal.
Yeah.
Right.
Then they see the
Right.
scandal
Right.
and they're like, yeah, see, I knew it. I ain't giving them nothing.
right.
Hey, you about to say something,
Yeah,
Jay?
absolutely. Jay is 100% right, and also the PR part is right is right too, because you got to drive the narrative, because you do have a negative stigma about what you're doing with the money. There's no growth, and then a few years back, I don't know if y'all remember, but Bobby Jindal was driving the narrative too. Like the HBCUs the purpose of them have run their course. Like there's people like if you didn't have an opportunity to get into LSU, for example, or UL, you could go to BRCC and transfer. So and then obviously minority people have opportunities to go to PWI. So there was a narrative for a while that there was no point of having HBCUs, period. So, to Anthony's point, you got to show growth. Jay's point, you got to show transparency and show them where the money goes to, and you have to improve the narrative and make people want to come there.
Right.
Because if there is no growth, then it is in trouble because it's already a negative stigma anyway.
Right.
Right.
Man, all valid points, man. All valid points. But we're gonna start wrapping the podcast up, man. But before we go to a break, one new thing that we're gonna do. I know we do the Black Prominent Figure every episode to kind of highlight Black history. But one thing we're also gonna do with our guests from now on is just get a book recommendation from guys, so we can try to, increase literacy. I know this is the that saying out there that if you want to, hide something from a Black person, just put it in the book. But we definitely want to highlight the fact that, we want to encourage people to read more. We want to encourage literacy. So, you brothers got any book recommendations for us? We just need one from each of y'all.
I started a new book, man. It's called, I hate to say this title, but How Not to Get Shot, by Hughley and Doug Moan.
Oh, I did see him post about that.
Yeah, so it's a book, and it's a commentary, and it's one of those things you try to take light to a very negative and derogatory situation and thing you have to deal with, because when I get pulled over, it's totally different than once one of my other friends get pulled over.
Right.
And you have to be on all guard. It's not fair.
Right.
And I have to tell my little cousins, like, listen, you can't talk to the police the way you want to talk to them. You have to be completely and totally submissive. Yes, sir. No, sir.
Right.
And like, I'm glad he can make light to that situation, but it's a very serious matter.
Right.
So that would be my book recommendation, Dear Hughley by Doug Moe, How Not to Get Shot.
What about you, Anthony?
Mine more like a more motivational sense. So T.D. Jakes Crushing.
Okay.
I got it for a birthday gift from my uncle. So it's basically the typical motivational book. T.D. kind of goes into his personal life and how he progressed into like a minister, how he progressed to like to be a mega church pastor. I won't call it a mega church, but a minister in a sense, a well-renowned minister in the United States. So there's a motivational book. I think, especially for Black males, I think we definitely should check it out. Definitely a lot of people will be definitely shocked what kind of past he came from. Not saying judging the man.
I've heard. I've heard.
It's you'll be like, wow, and like it'll kind of like you kind of motivate you like, wow, like somebody like him came from a past like that and like where he is now.
Gotcha. That's dope. That's dope. So yeah, in our caption and then in the description of the podcast, man, we're gonna list both of those books for our listeners. But with that, we're gonna take one more break and then we're gonna come back with the Black Prominent Figure and then we're gonna wrap things up. All right. All right, everybody, we're back. We're about to close out the episode, but before we do that, we need to talk about our Black Prominent Figure. GP, who you got for us, brother?
Well, this whole conversation is about Southern University, so we felt it would be very appropriate to discuss Dr. Joseph S. Clark. And Dr. Joseph S. Clark was the first president of Southern University and A&M College. He was born in 1871 in Sparta. It's an unincorporated community in Bienville Parish. He attended Leland College, which is a former HBCU, graduated in 1901. He was selected president of Southern University and A&M College in 1914. He led the development and relocation of Southern from New Orleans to Baton Rouge, and under his leadership from 1914 to 1938, Southern continued to expand in landmass, degree offerings, and enrollment, which grew to 1,400 enrolled students. Shout out to Dr. Clark for all his contributions to Southern University and our community.
All right, no doubt. That's dope. That's dope. So before we close out the episode, man, Izzy and Anthony, man, tell the people how they can reach out to y'all.
My name is Israel.
Call his publicist.
Israel J. Wilson. Everybody, pretty much, literally everybody knows my Instagram is Izzy versus Izzy. My Facebook.
Yeah,
we not doing that?
He's gram famous. Everybody pretty much knows my gram.
I'm an IG thought. You gotta know your role in this world. But anyway, Izzy versus Izzy. Just DM me if you have a real question or you need some booking info or whatever. That's fine. Izzy versus Izzy on Instagram. Anthony, I'll let you take it away.
Did you just solicit slides?
I did.
That was a fancy way of saying
You can contact me on IG or Instagram, IG or Twitter, at Bowtie Swag at BEAUXTIESWAG. Something I had since high school, so don't judge me.
Hey, no judgment, brother. No judgment.
But reach out to me any questions, anything. I love insightful conversations, meet new people, and just spreading the love about HBCU.
All right, no doubt. But before we close it out, man, as always, we're gonna. If you've been listening for this long, go out there and please subscribe to our podcast. We throw on some dope information out here every week or every other week, I should say. And so, man, we would love and appreciate your support. But with that being said, man, we are out.